Hey guys! Today I'm going to be showing you how to paint this tulip bouquet. This is a super simple tutorial, and when you're done, you can use this clip art to make greeting cards, patterns, and many more. Let's get into it, shall we? For this tutorial, I'm going to be using the Sublime Watercolor pack and the mixed canvas that is included in the pack. Everything will be linked below. I've also drawn a sketch for you guys, and you can download it and insert it like this. So I'll just show you guys how it looks like. And in the layers panel, it will show our sketch layer there, and we'll make a new layer so that we can start to color. We'll be starting off with the tulips first, so I'm going to grab this very light pink. It's almost close to a white, and we'll be using the hard edge round brush. And I'm just going to color this petal right here, and I'm going to make sure that I leave a blank space in the middle, and you'll see why in a second. But we're just going to be coloring one petal each on one layer. So if you have like 5 petals for this tulip, you'll have 5 layers, and it just makes things easier that way. And once it's colored, I'm just going to blend it in with the basic blender, and I'm going to grab a yellow, a very light yellow, and start to color in a little bit here and there. And then I'll be using the basic blender again, and then blending all those colors. It's kind of hard to see because the colors are so light, but it's worth it in the end. Then I'm going to be looking for a slightly darker pink, and I'm going to use that pink to color the bottom portion of the petal as well as the right side of the petal, just to give it that 3D look. A petal is just not one color, right? And then I'm just going to blend that in with the basic blender. That petal looks pretty good, so I'm going to make a new layer now and start to color the other petals. And I'll color it in the exact same method, so starting off with a very light pink, and then leaving some spots here and there to fill it in with a yellowish color, and kind of using a darker pink in the end to show shadows and to just make the flower look more 3D. Again, I'm making a new layer so that I can start to fill in the petal on the left side. I'm leaving some blank spots here and there just because I want to make the tulips have this translucent look, and I don't want it to be too, pink all over. I just want it to have that a little bit of color gradation. Once you've colored every petal, I'm just going to make a new layer on top, and then I'm going to grab a slightly darker pink, like a bit like a magenta, and I'm going to now use the hard edge round brush again, and I'm just going to bring it down quite a bit. And we're going to use this brush as a liner, and I'm just going to outline some areas here and there just as like an accent, and you can just follow along and see where I place these outlines. It's best to show these lines in areas that are deep or behind something to show that there's depth or volume there. Once the outlining is done, you can use the basic blender and bring down the size to the smallest level and blend and soften these lines so that it looks purely like watercolor. I don't want someone to think that this is like a pen or like an ink that we've used. I just want it to look like pure watercolor. As a final step, we'll go back to each of these petals and make a new layer on top and make it a clipping mask. Then we can grab one of the stamps. Any of these stamps will do, but I'm going to use probably the splotch. And you can play around with the size and just use the stamp to make the petal have more color. And I'm just trying to create that color gradation as well as some watermarks. As you can see here, I've colored another tulip using the exact same method. So now I made a new layer and I'm going to start drawing some outlines just like before, and I'm using the hard edge round brush. When outlining, you have to make sure that the size is brought down. As you can see, these lines are very thin, and something like the basic blender that we use normally can be tricky because even the smallest size of this blender can not get into tiny spaces like this. So I've decided to create a new blender brush called a tiny blender. And you can download this brush for free and use it to blend out small lines like this, but still keep a bit of that line or that pigment to show depth and that 3D effect. Hope that makes sense. It's a very subtle way to blend out these lines. Next, we're going to be painting the leaf and the stem, so we're going to color them separately on new layers using a moss green like this, or whatever green you like. Once you color the whole leaf, the key is to keep on layering with darker greens and blending them out. I'm going to use darker greens on the bottom and the right portion of the leaf, as I'm going to roughly imagine that the light source is on the left side. But this really doesn't have to be perfect. So now I'm just going to blend that out. And you use this exact same method with the stem as well. And once you're happy, you're going to merge these layers together and make a new layer on top and make that a clipping mask. And I'm going to use one of these stamps again. Let's use splotch. And I'm going to grab a different green. And you can choose whatever green you like. And you can just tap on the bottom of that leaf or wherever you like to create some watermarks. Finally, I'm going to show you how to paint the paper wrapper of this bouquet, and it's actually very easy. We make a new layer, and I'm just going to start coloring the entire paper like this, and you can use whatever color. But we have to make sure that the top portion of the paper is colored on a separate layer. So let's make a new layer and color that separately, and you'll see why in a second. And once it's all done, I'm going to go back to the bottom portion and make a new layer on top. And then we'll start to paint these wrinkles. And you simply use a darker beige or whatever color you have used, a darker version of it, and just paint beside these pencil lines. And you can just follow along and copy wherever I color. Honestly, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can color wherever you like and just estimate where the wrinkles are going to be, and it's going to look great. Once you color in these wrinkles, you can blend out the harsh edges using the basic blender, and it will make things look a lot more natural. As you can see, I'm just following the pencil lines. If the wrinkles look too harsh, you can go back to that layer and lower the opacity like this. Now let's select the top paper layer behind the tulips and make a new layer on top and make it a clipping mask. At this point, I just want to show some shadows behind the tulips, so we're going to use a stamp to darken that area behind. I'm going to grab this one here and grab a slightly darker brown and bring the size up. That was way too big, so let's just bring that down a bit. And I'm going to select a lighter brown and test that. So yeah, it should be good. That's good enough. The next step is optional. You select one of the tulip layers and make a new layer on top and make it a clipping mask. And we're going to use the splatter stamp to create some tiny watermarks. And I just think that this effect makes it look more realistic. At this point, the bouquet is done, but I'm not so happy with the color of the paper wrapper, so I'm going to go back to the paper layer and go to Hue, Saturation, and Brightness, and toggle that back and forth until I'm happy with it. This is just an amazing tool since you can change the color whenever you like. So I've tried inserting this painting into a different canvas. On the left is the vintage canvas and the right is the mixed where we actually painted on. Personally, I prefer the vintage canvas here because it looks a lot more colorful, but you guys can play around with it and select the one you like. So I hope this tutorial was useful and fun. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.